Hello, how are you doing? I'm trying to make some music. Don't worry, it'll only be about 2 minutes of the video, so don't worry about it if you're not into that sort of thing. I'm trying to make a piece of music, a very reverential piece. Imagine a big Gothic building that you're walking into and you're slightly in awe of it and a bit intimidated by it. And you're almost having this religious experience. So I like my drones, me. I like to not flying drones, musical drones. I like it sometimes to be simple because I can't play. I like to create atmosphere with simplicity. So that sort of thing. And that's a great sound, but it's too electronic. It's got that sort of 80s synth feel to it. I don't want that. I want a bit more of a classic feel to it. There's probably loads of pieces of music out there that I could just use, and I could do that. Sometimes it's fun though to make your own music, or it's just part of the whole YouTube thing. Anyway, I ended up opting for my favourite sound, which is this moon bass. It's called on this program. It's called moon bass. So that sort of thing. So it's very heavy, a bit too light, a bit too deep. So I went for this one. And I wanted to give it this feeling of moving in slowly towards this building, or going into this building that is vast and intimidating. Because there's a video coming up like that. Spitting. There's a video coming up like that. So as well, you want to give it, I want to use the word, I want to give it an ecclesiastical feel, is that the word? This sort of religious feel, this kind of like in awe of something feel. And so I thought, I'm basing this piece of music on, there's a track called, by a band called Dead Can Dance, and it's called Host of the Seraphim. Classic, iconic piece, and if I could make that music or use that music, it'd be amazing. But I can't use it because obviously it's copyrighted. So I'm basing this on that. That's my influence. So it needs a kind of an organ now, and maybe a church organ or something like that. And I messed about with various organs. There's lots of things on here, different types of organ you can use. I'll just give you an example: the tone wheel organ. Not religious enough really. So in the end I went for this grand organ, which I think kind of complements it quite well. Or was it that? It was a C chord, a C. I think it was that. So I'll put the two together and I'll play it for you. Have a listen to this. And I want you to imagine this moving towards this building. That sort of thing. Okay, so you get the impression. So then it needed something else to give it a bit of get the heart pounding. For me personally, I thought of some violins. Didn't quite know what to do. Maybe, don't know. There's a setting on it that says tremolo, so I thought that'd be quite good if I could bring that in. Again, single key, just pressing down the key, but giving this feeling of, this slow inertia and this complete in awe of what you're looking at. So maybe some violins, but obviously, ultimately, I'm into my choirs. I like my choirs, and I messed about with various choirs, and the sounds all right. Gospel ensemble, not too bad. In the end, I settled for obviously church choir. So I thought, right. See how that goes. So we'll add the choirs. I'll play the choirs live now. We'll see what happens. So here we go. Ready? impression, yeah? Get the idea? So maybe not, I don't know. But that's what I like to do occasionally when I'm not editing and not filming YouTube videos. I could spend hours up here just messing with this, doing various things and making music. Very, very simple stuff, but I'm going to work on that and you might hear it in a video. Anyway, let's crack on with what this video is about. Right, hello, sorry about that. Just making a little bit of music there. I hope you don't mind, I just thought I'd share that with you. Anyway, let's talk about the last video that we did. Whenever I can, I'm trying to do these little midweek videos if I can. Just a way of communicating with you, talking to you, rather than just a one weekly explore. Sometimes it's nice to do a midweek different type of video. I know it's not for everyone, but some people like to see it, so I hope you enjoy these little midweek meanderings, if you don't mind me calling it that. Wood mine, what am I talking about? So we recently went back to Alderley Edge, and we went in another one of the mines, wood mine this time. Wow, amazing place. Don't be put off if you didn't like what we did. I know some of it was a bit, people were looking and going, it was, I think if you do a tour, you don't necessarily have to do all the stuff we did. I think people were concerned about the confined spaces. But I know that on the tours they take children down there and they take all sorts of people down there. So you could ask, if you do book a tour, you could ask what kind of ability and what sort of stuff you'd be doing. I think John likes to take us off the beaten track and takes us to the places that perhaps are a little bit more challenging. I'm talking in particular about some of the confined spaces we went in, like the crocodile. I have to admit, I do have my limits when it comes to claustrophobia. I don't like confined spaces, but when I looked at that crocodile, which was a small tunnel, if you haven't seen the video, it was a small tunnel we had to crawl through on our front like that. Well, like that. That's why it's called a crocodile. When I looked at it, I could see the end. It was about, I'm guessing, 10 metres. Because I could see the end, maybe more, but because I could see the end, it weren't too bad. And I thought, right, it's the way forward. Because if you don't want to do it, the only way is back the way you've come. And you want to kind of carry on and see the other features of the mine. So I just thought, right, down on my belly, get through. It's only 10, 15 metres, just do it. So we did. So yeah, I'm not into confined spaces myself, but it was, I enjoyed it actually, I enjoyed it. The frog, the shaft that we looked in that were flooded, that had a frog in it. I mean, I knew it was a frog, but it's like, whoa, where's that come from? And it did appear to jump in just as we were looking into that flooded shaft. But where the hell did that come from, a frog down there? Must have wandered into the mine, because it's not a natural habitat for frogs, that is it? And the squirrel, the poor old squirrel, its nut gathering days are over. Anyway, part of this midweek video is the Q&A that we did a couple of weeks ago now. I put a question on my Facebook page, Martin Zero, and I said if you've got any questions about the videos, please feel free to ask them here. So in last week's video we got part way through the Q&A. This time we're going to carry on with the Q&A. So let's go over to Lewis's house where we were the other week, and we filmed the Q&A, and this is the second part of the Q&A, so a good chance that your question is now read out. So, over to Lewis's.
Stephen Wardley says, love your videos, Martin. Is there anything of interest up around Sabden with the witch trials? That's just near Pendle Hill, isn't it?
Sabden, yeah, sort of Lancashire way, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Ribble Valley.
Yes, witch trials, yes. Yes, I'm very interested in the witch trials and everything up in Pendle, around Pendle Hill. But what I'm interested in is more what actually happened rather than the sort of occult side of it. It was just basically children accusing adults of witchcraft. The interesting thing about the whole thing was that there was a period where they kind of went with it.
That's scary, that, isn't it?
Yeah, the adults and the people in charge was completely whipped up into this frenzy of witchcraft and everything, and going with what the kids' accusations. Cue about 10 or 15 years later, it was only like maybe maximum 30 years later, there was a new king on the throne, and he had a very different way of thinking, and he was much more almost scientifically minded, and he didn't buy into this witchcraft thing, and he didn't buy into the whole occult thing, and he was much more questioning about who was making the accusations and how they were getting the the confessions. And so basically he appointed people to start nailing these accusers down and questioning them, and the trials fell apart. This is later. And it was just, he said, how on earth could you rely on the testament of hysterical children? And literally, like within the space of 5 years, the whole witchcraft thing kind of, and the accusations kind of died out.
Right.
Because of a new king on the throne who sort of influenced a different way of thinking and a more rigorous scientific way of thinking and questioning the accusers. And it kind of died out, and it was sort of mid 1600s. I'm sure it was mid 1600s when it died out. It did die out, but people obviously still believed. But the fact that you could just turn to someone and go witch,
Yeah.
you know, they would
They were
get
lynched, weren't they?
yeah. Well, but it changed, and it was like, well, they were questioned more. The accusers were questioned more. It was really good. In America, it was still going on for a longer time. People were still going with it. Salem.
Yeah.
Salem happened much later than the Pendle witch trials. Anyway, I digress. But it's quite interesting that if you look up about the Pendle witch trials and what happened afterwards.
Graham Stafford, he's asked a question I was going to ask. He loves your videos, he watches them all the time, especially the railway ones. What's your favourite kind of music?
80s. I suppose 80s. I'm sort of stuck in an 80s cycle, really.
So top three.
What?
Top three 80s bands or artists
That's almost impossible, isn't
at
it?
the moment.
No, I'd have to give you a lifelong. I can't say it at the moment. It would be something like Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, New Order, Joy Division.
What CD have you got in your car at the moment?
I've got an iPod playing a mix of music.
Right.
I've just been listening to, all the way here, The Cure. I had The Cure on whack full up. But synth stuff. And it's why I like Kraftwerk. Yeah, I'm going to see Kraftwerk next week at the Blue Dot Festival in near Jodrell Bank. So
Right.
Synth music.
Sorry, I thought you'd finished then.
Well, I never
right.
have finished.
Thomas Tierney, I'll just give him a mention because he's mentioned...
Yeah, hello Thomas, you alright?
He just says one day you might be on TV. He says keep up the great work. He likes watching your videos.
Thank you, Thomas.
Keith Paul Brown, hi Martin. As you probably remember, I asked you about the tunnel under Plattfields Park in Rusholme. I really enjoyed that video. It gave me a great insight into something that I often wondered about as a child. I'm still interested in finding about anything about that little church and cemetery opposite the toast rack. If you ever do anything there, I know it's been abandoned for donkey's years now, which is why I'm probably curious. I can't get to it now as I'm disabled and I live a long way away. Please let me know if you do. Thank you. Keep up the good work and stay safe.
What's his name?
Keith Brown.
Keith Paul Brown. Keith, I don't know about the church. I'm not from down that way, so don't know about the church.
Yeah, I don't recall.
No, it's obviously still
Sounds
there.
interesting.
The tunnel, Plattfields, the Witches Tunnel. I went in that tunnel on the Nico Ditch video and just had a quick look at it. Never went all the way through. Somebody has been all the way through. I don't think it's that interesting at the other end. It just goes on for a bit and then just opens out again. The Witches Tunnel, yeah, I never finished that one off.
Right, Anne Forster would like to see more about Ancoats, the city centre Victorian warehouses, the Moravian settlement, Chetham's, John Rylands Library, the Statue of Manchester and who they are and how they fit into Manchester's history, the railway accident at Collyhurst in 1953.
I've done that, the railway accident at Collyhurst.
She said she could watch you read a menu. She found you that interesting.
Thank you very much, Anne. All those things, they all sound pretty good, and I would hopefully get to them all. But the railway crash at Collyhurst I've already done. It was called Manchester Off the Beaten Track.
Tony Shirtcliffe says he remembers the houses that lined the streets up near Hertford Mill. He basically grew up in Hertford Mill. He's got many memories of it as a kid and as a teen. He used to go on the roof. And he says, can you do a video on the history of Chadderton Town Hall at any point? And have you been in the air raid shelters at the back of Chadderton Mill?
I talked about Chadden Town Hall. The air raid shelters, I know where they are. Might try and look for them.
Hertford Mill, where are they up to with the demolition of that?
They're going to start pulling it down then, I think. So I might have to get back. No, I'm still just not going to go in one go.
Do you not think they use explosives on that?
I don't think so. No, they usually use the grabber these days, don't they?
It's quite a large building though, isn't it?
I used to use like the ball and chain. Used to like that method, but they don't use that anymore, do they? They use pincers.
Yeah, these are hydraulic pincers. Yeah. So Denise Barlow, she says she loves your videos. A shout out would be nice.
Hello, Denise Barlow.
She says she hopes you can hang on to your new drone, keep it away from rivers.
I'll do my best, but you've got to take a risk, haven't you?
Ivan Wong, just say hi to him. He says, how did you come up with all the locations and anything that inspires you with motivation, which you've covered?
Hello, Ivan. Thank you for the question.
David Durbidge, I just think you're doing a great job, mate. I especially enjoy your railway stuff. Carry on with the good work.
Cheers, David. More railway stuff to come. That one with the white wicks I did last week is a railway video. Well, kind of.
Shelley says, we do anything. You've answered this one, but Shelley Newton, she says, we do anything about the Oldham area. I'd love to know more about where I live.
Yeah, I've not done much in Oldham. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, nothing I can think of straight away. But I know people are shouting at me right now and going, "There's loads of stuff," but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
People had taken up some of the questions I was going to ask as well. Charlie Davis says, which was the longest project that ever took you to record and finalise?
Charlie, a good question. That I think I read this last night, so I've already thought about it. I think it was at Pomona Island. Because I didn't, from not knowing what Pomona Island was to learning about it, I watched a video about it. It was quite a nicely shot video. I remember watching it and thinking, I want to do something like that. And I had all these ideas and I got overwhelmed by them. Yeah. So in the end I went out and did the Pomona one. But do you remember we did that Pomona video I did it in multiple takes. Because
you went across the summer really, didn't you, doing it all?
But we did, one evening, we did the chair and the drone shots, didn't we?
Yeah.
Me sat in the chair.
That's about 12 months ago, isn't it really?
It was about 12 months ago, yeah.
And that sat shooting in the chair star that fell into the digger yard behind that you missed.
I don't think I saw that. No. I think that's you unicorns.
Oh, here's a good one. Right, Dean Jones. Hi Martin, do you really have plans to use Cock Robot to go down the flooded hole on the moor? And do you think you'll do a revised episode on Pomona?
Cock Rover down the shaft, possibly. Who can tell? That flooded shaft is very scary, and I've only got one waterproof light. It won't be as good. So maybe let's see what happens. And what was the question?
Do you think you'll do a revised episode of Pomona?
Pomona, yeah. I'm thinking of doing a Manchester sort of gone video. So trying to capture some stuff that I know is about to change. So I might do Pomona in that. So it'll be a multiple site video, but Pomona might be in that as well because that is slowly going, isn't it?
I've just thought of another question. How did the name Cock Rover come about?
It's, you know what Cock Rover? Oh, well, one day I spontaneously started calling this little dog. Come here.
Come here, she's getting shy now.
For some reason I said, what's your dog called? I said, is it called Cock Rover? It was a bit of a joke, but I then thought, what can I call, how can I make that fit something that I use? And it was a combined optical crawler.
And I watched it and thought, I recognise that name. Janet Smith, this is a good one. Any chance of any videos showing the planes, trains and automobile legacy of Manchester, how they looked and what's there now? Because he was near, at the back of Southern Cemetery, there was an airfield, a little aircraft factory, wasn't there? You've got Woodford, yeah, Alexandra, I forget the name of it now, Alexandra Park, is it?
Bay of Peacock, Gorton Works.
Yeah. You had Woodford Aerodrome.
Yeah.
Obviously Ringway, that used to be an RAF.
Yeah.
Place, yeah.
Yes. What was her name?
Janet Smith.
Janet, yeah, definitely. I would like to do Bay of Peacock Gorton Works.
Well, I'll tell you what, while we're on that, there was an airfield at Rackhouses at Wythenshawe as well, just to the south of Manchester. There's loads of aviation stuff, yeah.
Right.
I don't know about trains and automobile stuff, though. Right. So, Colin Griffin, he's asking a question that's already been answered here. He said it would be a good idea to do guided tours of some of the places you've visited.
Yeah, I probably should do a tour. It's organising it, making sure everyone can turn up. And how do I get you around is the problem. Because what do I do? Hire a minibus?
Yeah.
It'd be a bit difficult, wouldn't it? We'd all have to meet in cars, and if we were all in cars, we could drive round. Unless we should just hire a minibus.
Yeah. You'd have to pick
and then it's
places
insurance and everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'd all want insuring.
Gareth Scott, again a question we've already covered. Do you have any plans to travel further afield to do a video?
Yes, all the time. I go anywhere. I would go anywhere. Yeah.
William Hugh Roberts says, top work, pal. I'm living back in sunny Wales now, but used to live in Atherton. I always remember an old chap warning me about a concrete pad in the woods. They're telling me over 300 people lost their lives there. I never believed him, but since found out he was right. You should have a look there.
300 people losing their lives in Atherton. Didn't know about that.
Concrete pad.
Mm-hmm.
That's odd. Let's have a look at that. Steve Johnson, hi Martin. Always love watching your videos, but especially the old railway ones. Is there much in the way of old railway lines or buildings for you to explore in and around Manchester for future videos?
Yes, there will be. There's I've seen a few viaducts or remains of viaducts stand alone that I want to get on top of, but it's getting on top of them. And there's all sorts of disused lines. I mean, there's a Fallowfield loop, isn't there, and things like that. So yes, quite possibly. So I got asked one today by my friend Danny. Hello, Danny. And it was a good one. He said to me, he'd like to know, if I didn't live in Manchester, which city or country would I like to live in? I think, I've been thinking about this, it'd be something...
I'd like to live in London.
You're a ponce, aren't you? London?
Yeah, London. There's a lot of history in London.
Why?
Just isn't there?
Roll out. No.
You go into all the MI5 and Secret Service history down there and all that.
No, for me it'd be like New York or something like that.
No, let's say UK first.
Because New York is very different to the rest of America, really, isn't it? It's quite, it's got a different attitude. In Europe, it might be somewhere like Berlin, you know, with that real dark history. That'd be quite good. Or there's places in the former Eastern Bloc that would be really good. That've got all old factories and everything still remaining from the old communist days. That'd be good.
Chernobyl,
but you can't stay there for a long time because you get a bit, you get fried. Yeah, you can visit, but you can't stay for a long time.
No. Mark Shepherd, Martin, this is a good one actually. Martin, the cemetery on Chapel Street in Salford is currently being exhumed, with lots of mass burials being unearthed from the 1830s to the 1850s. Definitely worth you popping down.
I need to get down there.
And he's put a picture of the slabs there.
Yeah. Just on that, so the other day, it was yesterday that we're filming this, which won't make any sense whatsoever, but Manchester International Festival is on, and I had tickets to go and see something called The Drunk Epidemic, and we ended up going underneath Victoria Station, not very far in, and they were talking about cholera and how it affected the people in Manchester. And they also talked about Walker's Croft Cemetery. Now, if you watch that video I did, we looked at all this. So he starts talking about cholera and the cemetery and all the rest of it, and I'm going, you know, I'm getting all excited. When they took us into the station, we went in, and immediately on the right was the bridge.
Right.
And where they took us in, it never dawned on me that the bridge was there. And of course, I'm stood there, and I went, and they made us walk in twos across it. He said, "This is a very old bridge. Right. We need to walk across it in twos." And I'm going. He actually didn't say it's a bridge. He said, "Can you just go across in twos?" Because I went, "It's the bridge. It's the bridge." You know what he said to me?
What?
He said, "Don't tell everyone. You're spoiling it for everyone else." And I was like, "Well, I know what it is." And they had it lit in red. I'll drop a picture in for you now. They had it lit in red. We went through to another area under an arch, and we had a talk on cholera. He started telling us about the bridge and saying, "This is a very old bridge. It's from medieval times." And I piped up and I went, Really? I said, because there's certain questions now about this bridge, of whether it is actually that old. I don't think you like me.
Paul Berry, I know like me you're a fan of Manchester music. Any plans to do a video of the famous gig venues from back in the day and show everyone what became of them?
Me and Carl talked about this. A guy called Exploring with Carl on YouTube, if you check him out, we talked about going around doing a video, and Carl would still like to do that video. So yes, I would do. But it'd have to be very much about the places I saw, really, because unless Carl knows some as well. But yeah.
There's quite a few, isn't there, to go at. Danny Toomey, evening Martin, are you doing any more videos about the history of central Manchester anytime soon, please?
Of course, all the time.
Teresa and Ollie Oswell. Hi Martin, I would like you to do some more Lowry information / places, facts, etc. Also, anything in the Moston and Collyhurst areas of Manchester.
Yeah, Lowry, I would do. Yeah, it's just I'm no immediate plans to do it. Moston and Collyhurst. Actually, Moston, yes, there's something I want to do in Moston. So yeah, stay tuned.
James Pollard, again, one we've already covered. James Pollard, how do you come up with the places and visits and what makes you visit them?
It's just got to be somewhere that I find interesting and somewhere where I can extract a video from it. It's got to excite you, hasn't it? Sometimes I don't know.
You need to feel a buzz about something.
Yeah.
You develop an affinity for like Pomona. You sort of fall in love with the place.
Pomona was bizarre. Yeah, really. Yeah. It was really interesting. The concept of this upside down. It had been one thing, and then it had been something completely different. And I think I use the upside down from the series Stranger Things. And I think that's what I find interesting, is that a place that you look at now has had a completely different life.
Yeah, and now it's just waste ground, empty.
I'll give you an example. Collyhurst Road, obviously it's a place I drive up all the time. I know it really well. If you look at pictures of Collyhurst Road, just from the 60s, let alone the 50s and beyond, the road now is just a long stretch of road with the river on one side and it's overgrown on the other side, and it looks quite green. But there was buildings along it, there was terraced houses, there was pubs, an area called St Catherine's, which is completely derelict, had a church there and a school, a block of flats. And I look at pictures of it and I just go, where did all that go? So there's this idea that something has been completely different, and it's going to that place and looking or trying to find what was there. I was actually at St Catherine's the other day creeping round in the woods trying to see any remains of the church that were there, but I couldn't find nothing. But yeah, I think if a place has just been fields before, it's like fine. But when somewhere's been completely different, I mean, centre of Manchester, in Roman times, apart from the fort, a lot of it would have been fields, but medieval Manchester, and then, later, the early industrial Manchester, amazing. And the fact that some of it's still down there, waiting to be found, or like the Manchester Salford Junction Canal.
It's like when you did that video on the excavation of the little houses and you could see the stone floor.
Yeah.
You can imagine the little families in there. But generations, like when you think of like a house like this, 100
flattened,
100 years ago, who was sat in this front room of this house? And I've just thought of a question. Do you ever think I'll do a video on that? And as you start to research, you open up a big can of worms and it becomes bigger than you ever thought it would be.
Every single video I've ever done.
Medlock series was probably a can of worms as well, wasn't
Medlock was a massive can of worms, honestly. Medlock was going to be one video. Let's walk the route of the Medlock. We're just about to put out episode 7. Right, so we'll leave the Q&A there for the moment because I'm well aware that this video is running now into like 30 odd minutes. Just where we finished there on the Medlock, that is possibly the next video I'm going to do, Medlock number 8. Now, in Medlock 8, I won't be getting into the river. We need to re-examine where we've just been because things used to be quite different. And I've got a few pictures to show you. You can't see things like that. I've become the custodian of a few pictures. I need to figure out a way of getting these on. But yeah, some interesting stuff to show you, to be honest with you, for Medlock 8. Got a lot of photos there, and I know you're going to say scan them in, but I ain't got a scanner, so I'm trying to figure out a way of photographing the photos without getting a shine on it or a reflection on it, and putting them on for Medlock number 8. I've probably got about 2 days to do Medlock 8 before I go back to work, so see if we can get it done. But I really want to do Medlock 8 before we move on to Medlock 9. So bear with me, I'll try and get Medlock 8 done. It involves maps and photographs and things like that. So that said, thanks for watching this far. Hope you liked the bit of the music thing and the Q&A. I hope you don't mind these little midweek extra videos that I'm putting out whenever I can do. Thanks for watching. I shall see you very soon in the next video. Bye for now.